We're going to continue with Hello Universe. This is chapter 19. When we left off, Chet is still in the woods looking for a snake, and he sees Valencia Somerset come into the woods with a big bowl. And she's going to come and feed the stray dog. She calls him Sacred. And Chet is kind of convinced that she's up to no good. Chapter 19. Valencia. I don't just walk through the woods. I feel them. When the leaves shake in the wind, they tickle my skin. When I step on fallen branches, the snaps move through my feet. I can't see Sacred, but I know he's here, and he isn't far. Where is he? To my left? To my right? I shake the bowl. And even though I can't hear the cereal pinging around, I can feel it. I know this will bring Sacred out of his hiding place. Sacred, I call. Sacred. I wonder if I should invent a sign name for Sacred. Dogs can learn sign language easy. They can probably learn faster than people. I think I read that somewhere. I've been trying to learn sign language because I read that there are deaf people who know two languages, spoken English and American Sign Language, and I want to learn both. But it's tough when you don't have a teacher. I tried learning online, but it's hard to make any real sentences except how are you and what's your name. I asked my parents once if I could take a class, but they didn't think it necessary because of my hearing aids. But the hearing aids don't work by themselves. I have to be able to see people's faces so I can put the sounds and the lip movements together like two pieces in a puzzle. People always say, "Oh, I know," when I remind them to face me and talk slowly, but they still forget. Even my parents, they don't mean to, but they do. I'm the only one who doesn't forget because I'm the only one solving the puzzle. I call for Sacred again and I wait. It takes a while, but Sacred finally comes out of the trees. He's happy to see me like always. He picks up his pace and trots over like a horse. His black tail swings back and forth. When I put the bowl on the ground, he nudges my hand before digging in. His nose is cold. It doesn't take him long to eat everything in the bowl. When he's done, I squat down and scratch behind his ears. My fingertips run along his fur. It's coarse and damp, like he's been rolling around in wet grass. Maybe he has. Who knows what Sacred does when I'm not around? One thing I know for sure is I could never be a dog. They eat anything, not me. I'm a picky eater. I don't like avocados, peaches, green beans, or peas. I like corn, but only if it's alone, sprinkled with salt and doused in butter. I like hamburgers, but not cheeseburgers. I like pizza, but only if it's plain. I like clementines, but not oranges. They look almost the same, but they're different. Clementines are much sweeter. Oranges just taste like oranges. Good boy, I say. Sacred doesn't just take off and leave me when he's done eating. My friendship with Sacred has a lot to do with the fact that I bring him food, but it's not the only reason he likes me. I know this because he usually hangs around after he eats. He follows me like an assistant. When I walk, he walks. When I sit down, he sits. And when it's time for me to leave, he always knows somehow and goes back into the woods so he can keep rolling around in the grass or whatever he does when he's alone. So Sacred and I walk across the clearing and I tell him what's been going on in my life. School is out for the summer, I say. Everyone's practically sprinted out of the building on that last day. I should be more excited too, but I'm not. I'm not saying I like school. I mean, it's okay, but at least it's something to do. The good news is I'll be able to come out here and check on you more often. I wish you could come home with me, or just any nice home, but this will be the next best thing. We reach a fallen log that's between two trees. It's one of my favorite places to sit, and that's exactly what I do when I get there. I sit on the log and Sacred sits at my feet. These people came by the house with pamphlets to their church, I continue, and later I'm going to meet a fortune teller named Kiori Kanaka. Now that Sacred's all caught up, I take my zoological diary out of my bag along with my pencil. I'm here to document the squirrels. They're my focus for the day. I like to pretend I'm Jane Goodall, except with squirrels instead of chimpanzees. It would be nice if there were chimpanzees in these woods, but that seems highly unlikely. Actually, I'm not even sure there are chimpanzees anywhere in the United States except for zoos. I'll have to research that later. I write in my diary, where do chimps live? And I put a star next to it. Anytime I put a star next to something, it means research later. I have a whole system going. You have to stay organized if you're going to study wildlife. Otherwise, your notes will become a complete disaster. I hate to admit it, but I started my first zoological diary because of Roberta. We used to be good friends, a long time before she gave me that famous deaf people and history book. The only reason she ever came to the party was because her mother made her. I could tell. It was the same with most of the other girls, too. But before that, we were BFFs, even though she got on my nerves a lot. Back then, Roberta liked exploring the woods. She doesn't anymore. Now she wears mascara, lip gloss, and sundresses. But back then, she liked to pretend that we were adventurers. The only thing she was afraid of was snakes. Her dad had mentioned once that there were snakes in the woods, and from then on, Roberta was terrified. To make her feel better, I learned everything I could about snakes. That way, she'd know what to do to avoid getting bitten. I wrote it all down in a notebook, and here's what I found out. 1. Never antagonize a snake. Don't poke it with sticks or kick it or anything like that unless you want it to bite you. 2. Never, never, never pick up a snake by its tail. 3. Stay out of tall grass. 4. If you see one, ignore it and walk away quietly. Most people get bitten when they try to get a closer look or capture it. 5. If you get bitten and the snake is poisonous, seek medical attention immediately. I shared all this information with Roberta and she felt better. Life is a lot easier when you're prepared for stuff. I wish I had been prepared when Roberta and I stopped being friends. You know how sometimes you're friends with somebody and they start hanging out with other people and eventually you're not friends anymore, but you can't remember when it all happened? Well, that's not how it was with Roberta. I know the exact date, October 12th. 4th grade, Roberta and the other girls were playing chase and I was doing my best to play too. But after the game was over, she walked up to me and said, "We don't want you to play with us anymore." Why, I asked, even though I already knew the answer. "The how-tos are too hard," she said, "and you're too slow." The how-tos were what we called the 3 ways to talk so I could understand. Face me, don't cover your mouth, and speak clearly. When she said I was too slow, I knew what that meant too. When we raced, I could never tell exactly when Megan Lewis called out, "Ready, set, go." I could see she was getting ready to call it out, but I was never totally sure when she had said all 3 words. When we played musical chairs, I couldn't tell when the music stopped. With hide and seek, I never knew when the ready or not, here I come happened. I always figured it out, but I was usually 2 or 3 steps behind everybody else. It slowed down the game. I knew that. I guess I just didn't know that everyone else knew it too. I thought I'd fooled them, but Roberta set me straight. "Maybe you can find new friends," she said. Like I could snap my fingers and they'd be, and there they'd be that night. That night I cried on my mom's lap. That's how upset I was. And my mom said that if we were real friends, they would have figured out a game that we all could have played. I can't stand when she says stuff like that. It makes me think she doesn't get it. Bad friends are better than no friends. And besides, I thought they were my real friends in the first place. That was the whole reason I was crying. But I'm solo now, and everything is working out great. I know I prayed to Saint Rene for a friend to protect me from Kiori Kanaka, just in case, but I'm over it. I'm doing just fine. Here I am, sketching in my journal, looking out for squirrels, with a loyal dog at my feet. He doesn't care if I can't hear him, and he doesn't need any how-tos. What more could I ask for? And that is the end of chapter 19.